Song royalties are great, but even they can't match the guaranteed cash flow from a reverse mortgage.
He never stood still, never played it safe. For over 60 years, Mick Jagger has been rock and roll's greatest showman.
Give this award out. The producers really wanted Bob Dylan to do this.
The man who taught a generation how to move, how to rebel, how to feel dangerous just by watching him perform. But behind all that swagger, all those iconic moves, and that unmistakable voice, there's something deeper. A restless artist who never stopped searching. While others chased hits, Mick chased truth. While they wanted to be liked, he wanted to matter. The Rolling Stones recorded hundreds of tracks across 6 decades, stadium anthems that shook the world, blues covers that started it all, dance floor fillers that never got old. But ask Mick which ones stayed with him, and you get a different list entirely. These 5 songs aren't about chart positions or crowd reactions. They're about the moments when everything clicked, when the music said exactly what he needed it to say, when the band became something more than just 4 guys making noise. Some reveal his darkness, others show his light. All of them capture the restless spirit that made him impossible to ignore. The voice that moved mountains and the mind that never stopped moving. These are Mick Jagger's 5 favorites, the songs that made him who he is. 5. Gimme Shelter. Some songs warn you. This one already knew what was coming. Gimme Shelter wasn't written for the dance floor or the radio. It was written for the end of the world. And in 1969, it felt like the world might actually be ending.
I didn't think the stuff we did was outstandingly wonderful. It was good, but was it great?
Vietnam was tearing America apart. The hippie dream was dying in the mud. And Mick Jagger was watching it all burn from his window in London. The song started with Keith's guitar. That haunting, repetitive riff that sounded like a funeral march played at half speed. But it was Mick's voice that gave it meaning. Desperate, pleading, like a man trying to wake people up before it was too late. War, children, it's just a shot away. He wasn't singing about some distant conflict. He was singing about the violence he saw everywhere. In the streets, on the news, in people's eyes. Then came Mary Clayton, the session singer who walked into Olympic Studios that night and changed everything. She was pregnant, wearing curlers in her hair, probably wondering why these crazy rock stars needed her so late. But when she opened her mouth and sang, "Rape, murder, it's just a shot away," the room went silent. Her voice cracked on the high note, raw and broken, like the sound of someone's heart splitting open. "I got chills," Mick remembered. She sang it once, and we all knew we'd never hear anything like that again. It wasn't just backup vocals. It was a conversation between 2 souls who understood that sometimes the world needs to hear the truth, even when the truth is terrifying. Especially when the truth is terrifying. The song became more than music. It became a prophecy. The soundtrack to every war, every protest, every moment when people realized that safety was just an illusion. And for Mick, it marked the moment when the Rolling Stones stopped being just another rock band. They became witnesses, reporters of the darkness that everyone else was afraid to see. 4. Wild Horses.
Wild, wild horses.
Not every confession needs to scream. Sometimes it whispers. Wild Horses came from a place Mick rarely let people see. The quiet corner of his mind where he kept his doubts, his fears, his tender moments.
One's life to be interested in that. I mean, after you read certain poetry, then you get interested in it.
It was 1970, and the Rolling Stones were supposed to be the bad boys who didn't care about anything. But this song proved that even rebels have hearts. Even wild men can be gentle. The inspiration was personal. His relationship was falling apart. His newborn daughter was growing up without him on the road. The life he'd chosen was pulling him away from the life he wanted. "Wild horses couldn't drag me away," he sang, but they both knew that wasn't true. The horses were already running, and he was holding the reins. Graham Parsons was hanging around the band then, teaching them about country music and broken hearts. He showed them that you could be tough and vulnerable at the same time. That the best songs came from the places that hurt the most. Keith played acoustic guitar, soft and careful, like he was afraid of breaking something precious. The whole song felt like a conversation in a dimly lit room. "I wrote it sitting on the floor," Mick said. "Just me and an acoustic guitar, trying to figure out what I really felt. No swagger, no attitude, no rock star pose. Just a man admitting that he wasn't as strong as everyone thought he was. That sometimes the things we love the most are the things we hurt the most." The recording was different from their usual chaos. No electric guitars screaming, no thundering drums, just space and silence and the sound of someone telling the truth. When they played it back, everyone in the studio knew they'd captured something special, something honest that couldn't be faked or manufactured. "Wild Horses" became the song that showed the world Mick Jagger wasn't just a performer. He was a songwriter, a poet, a human being with feelings he couldn't always control. It was the first time he let people see behind the curtain. The first time he proved that the man behind the moves had something real to say. And somehow, that vulnerability made him even more powerful than all his swagger ever could. 3. Painted Black Darkness has a sound. Brian Jones found it on a sitar.
I could not foresee this thing happening to you.
Paint It Black wasn't supposed to be a hit. It was supposed to be an experiment, a strange little song that mixed Indian music with London blues. But when it hit the radio in 1966, it became the soundtrack to a generation's nightmares. And for Mick, it was the first time he realized his voice could carry more than just rebellion.
Of course, what's great to one person is not always great to another, but it's got to be outstanding.
It could carry despair. The song started with that sitar riff, hypnotic and haunting, like something from a dream you can't wake up from. Brian had been studying Indian instruments, trying to find new sounds that nobody else was using. When he played that opening line, everyone in the studio stopped what they were doing. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like hearing your own funeral music while you were still alive. Mick's lyrics came from a dark place he didn't like to visit often. "I see a red door, and I want it painted black." Depression, grief, the feeling that everything good in the world had been drained of color. He sang it like a man trapped in his own mind, desperate to escape, but unable to find the door. His voice cracked and strained, not from technique, but from emotion he couldn't control. "I was going through something," Mick admitted years later. "The song just came out of me like I was bleeding. It wasn't about love or sex or partying. It was about the weight of being young and famous and still feeling empty inside. About success that didn't fill the hole it was supposed to fill. About painting everything black because color felt like a lie." The song became bigger than they expected. Radio stations played it constantly. Soldiers in Vietnam adopted it as their anthem. Kids who felt lost in suburban nowhere found their feelings in those lyrics. It was dark, but it was honest. And sometimes honest darkness feels better than fake happiness. Paint It Black taught Mick that his voice could be more than just entertainment. It could be medicine for people who were hurting the same way he was hurting. That rock and roll could heal by admitting that sometimes everything feels broken, and that was more powerful than any dance move he'd ever learned. 2. You can't always get what you want.
I went to the Chelsea drugstore.
Philosophy set to music, wisdom wrapped in a gospel song. You can't always get what you want started as a simple truth that hit Mick one morning after another sleepless night.
Well, that means that, kids of 16 can access anything they want.
He was rich, famous, desired by millions, but still felt like something was missing. The lesson took him years to learn, but only 3 minutes to sing. Sometimes the deepest truths are the simplest ones. The song began with the London Bach Choir, their voices rising like angels in a cathedral. Then came Al Cooper's French horn, weaving through the melody like a prayer. It was 1968, and the world was demanding revolution, change, everything right now. But Mick had learned that wanting something and getting it were two very different things, and maybe that wasn't always bad. I was thinking about my own life, Mick explained. All the things I thought I needed, all the things that didn't make me happy when I got them. The Rolling Stones were supposed to be about getting everything you wanted. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, no limits. But this song said something different. It said that maybe the chase was more important than the catch. Maybe needing was better than having. The recording sessions felt like church. Everyone spoke quietly, moved carefully, like they were handling something sacred. The gospel influence wasn't accidental. Mick had been listening to Baptist choirs, amazed by how they could turn pain into hope, struggle into strength. He wanted that same transformation. He wanted to take disappointment and make it sound like victory. But if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. That line became his life philosophy. The idea that the universe might know better than we do. That the things we think we want might not be the things that actually save us. It was optimistic and realistic at the same time. Hope wrapped in acceptance. The song became an anthem for anyone who'd ever been disappointed by success. Anyone who'd gotten everything they wanted and still felt empty. It was Mick's gift to everyone who felt lost despite having it all. Proof that wisdom could sound like rock and roll, and that sometimes the best advice comes from the people who've made all the mistakes first. 1. Midnight Rambler. Some performers play characters, others become them. Midnight Rambler wasn't just a song for Mick Jagger, it was a transformation, a journey into the darkest corners of human nature that he never fully came back from. And for 11 minutes on stage, he became someone else entirely, someone dangerous, someone who scared even himself.
I mean, I just like doing it. I mean, the simple answer to that is and that's what I do, you know, so if I don't do that, and I don't...
The song was inspired by the Boston Strangler, a real killer who terrorized women in the 1960s. But Mick wasn't interested in telling a news story. He was interested in exploring the monster that lives inside everyone. The part of ourselves we try to hide from the world, the shadow that follows us when we think nobody's watching. In the studio, Midnight Rambler was just another track. Dark, bluesy, with Keith's guitar slithering like a snake through the verses. But on stage, it became theater. Mick would crouch, crawl, stalk across the platform like a predator hunting prey. He'd loosen his belt, crack it like a whip, make the audience wonder if they were watching a concert or witnessing something they shouldn't see. I felt possessed, Mick said about those performances, like something else was controlling me. The audience felt it too. Women in the front row would step backward. Men would shift uncomfortably. The song lasted 11 minutes because Mick couldn't let go of the character. He didn't want to come back to being just a rock star. He wanted to stay in that dangerous place a little longer. The power wasn't in the lyrics or the music. It was in the complete surrender to something primal. Mick had discovered that he could hypnotize people, not with his charm or his moves, but with his willingness to go places other performers wouldn't go. To show the audience parts of themselves they'd rather not acknowledge. Midnight Rambler became the song that defined what made the Rolling Stones different from everyone else. They weren't just musicians. They were explorers of the human condition. And Mick wasn't just a frontman. He was a shaman, a guide into territories that were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. These 5 songs weren't about the screaming crowds or the spotlight. They were about the moments when the music said what Mick couldn't say any other way. The restless spirit who found truth in darkness and wisdom in rebellion. Sometimes the wildest voices carry the deepest truths. If you want more stories from rock's greatest rebels, more secrets from the stage, hit that subscribe button. Because the best music comes from the places most people are afraid to go. And we're just getting started exploring them.